What's happening? Happy kickoff night. Yes, the first night of the NFL 2025 season. Just about an hour or so away, and we are back at the bar. Crafts and Kickoffs every Thursday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, on YouTube, on Facebook. Check us out. And my question is always, to start the night, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? Let me know. Throw the comment down. Is it a beer, like our friend Amy says she's sipping on Guinness? Cheers. Thank you, Amy. Cheers back to you. So what are you drinking on this Thursday night? And before I get into what I'm drinking on this Thursday night, we're going to hit all the top 5 stories in the NFL. I want to talk about Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. Is it Stafford or bust? I want to talk about the head coach debuts that we will have this weekend. New faces in new places. I also want to talk about Micah Parsons and that huge trade to the Green Bay Packers. And, I mean, Green Bay going all in. And then I'll have the AFC division winner predictions and the NFC division winner predictions as well to wrap things up. But the first thing I want to throw up here, aside from Amy's Guinness shout out, is our friend Terry. Terry, usually here every single Thursday night. She's not able to make it tonight. Sorry, I cannot make the kickoff show, but no, I will be drinking Diet Pepsi. Oh, we know, by the gallon. Go Patriots. Thank you, Terry, for the $100 super chat. Crazy generous from you. Cannot speak enough about your generosity and your support. I appreciate you a heck of a lot. Burley Sullivan checks in at the bar. Got a tropical IPA in hand. What's up, Burley? Happy to see you. Vitalix sweetened sparkling water. All good. All good. No big deal. KJ Buys, nice room, Nick. Yeah, we changed it. We changed it up. I said last year I wanted to change the background. The background was not necessarily what I was looking for, but here we are, 2025 season, new vibes, new background. And speaking of vibes, that's what I'm drinking tonight. I am drinking Dad Vibes. It is a Pilsner. It is a Pilsner, a fantastic beer from Afterglow Brewing. So Afterglow Brewing here in Virginia. It is a fantastic beer, 4.6 alcohol, so not too bad, 4.6%. And I don't know how many people can see this. I don't know how many people care, how many are Red Sox fans, but the dad is wearing a Red Sox hat. Can you see it? There it is. So I don't know if the owner of Afterglow is from Boston or not, but Afterglow Brewing, Dad Vibes Pilsner. So I will keep checking in on you. Keep letting me know what you're drinking. Rick B5005, cheers. So happy football is back. Drinking on IPA from Treehouse. Good stuff. I appreciate you, Rick. All right, let's get into the football. And let's take a sip of it, of course. Here it is. The Dad Vibes Pilsner from Afterglow Brewing. Happy Thursday night. Happy week 1. No more OTAs or minicamp. No more preseason games. No more joint practices. Football that matters begins tonight in the NFL. So cheers to all of you. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the Rams. I found this Matthew Stafford story throughout camp to be fascinating. And there were a lot of different things being said. There was the mystery first 2 or 3 weeks of camp where Stafford was supposed to be out there practicing, and then he wasn't out there practicing. And then, no, he's going to be out this week practicing, and then he was out, not practicing, but just out OUT. And we're trying to figure all of this out as we go. We hear that Stafford gets an epidural shot to his back, which is never good. You never want any kind of epidural in your back. And you especially don't want that when you are a 37-year-old quarterback. So there are a lot of differing takes about the Rams and where they kind of stack up in the NFL hierarchy. And I think, surprise 2024 that they had last year. It was a good story. Sean McVay did a terrific job coaching a young team, especially on defense. But lately, I feel like the Rams and the hype, it's starting to fizzle out. And I think it really begins and ends with Matthew Stafford. If Stafford is not healthy, I think people are concerned, and I am too. I am concerned about the LA Rams if Matthew Stafford is not healthy, if he's incapable of getting out there consistently, if his mobility is shook, if he doesn't look like the same guy. And, it's a risk from LA to have Jimmy Garoppolo. When you have a 37-year-old quarterback, to go out and sign your backup quarterback as Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a huge risk because Jimmy Garoppolo has been more hurt than Matthew Stafford. So you're taking a risk by rolling with Jimmy Garoppolo as your main backup here. So if Stafford goes down, are you confident Garoppolo's going to stay healthy? Of course you're not. So that's a very interesting decision made by the front office of the Rams. Their defense, by the way, was 24th in DVOA last season, so their defense wasn't great, according to DVOA. Again, a very young defense. Maybe they'll get better in 2025. But I do have some concerns about the Rams just because of Stafford. And the NFC West is no joke. I think Seattle and Arizona will improve upon from last year. And the 49ers, all of you know the 49ers. I wasn't huge on the 49ers last year, and they took a step back, obviously. And I look at this year, they got an easy schedule. If they stay healthy, they have a chance to win some games. So I think that NFC West is pretty tough. Anonymous jumps in. Welcome back, Nick. Thank you, Anonymous. I appreciate you. Happy to be back on Thursday nights. Happy to be back at the bar. Hopefully all of you like the bar. We fixed it up for you, so I hope that you enjoy it. But thank you for the $10 super chat, Anonymous. Means an awful lot from you. All right, let's go to, let's see. Nick Patterson jumps in, says, Cloud Dweller from Coppertail Brewing Company in Tampa. I might go down to Tampa. Got a couple of friends pestering me to go to the Pats and Buccaneers game, but I also have to do the whole Lockdown Patriots post-game thing, so not really sure. Not really sure. Greg Fields. Evening, just a Bud. Old school Budweiser. Old school red Bud. Not bad at all. Bud red Bud. We'll take it either way. Burley with a 32-31 prediction tonight. Cowboys. Could you imagine that? Jimmy Lewis wants me to take that hat off. I'm not taking the hat off, Jimmy, on Facebook. I'm not taking the hat off. Don't tell me what to do. All right, let's get to story number 4. Story number 4, let's talk about the head coaches that are debuting this weekend with their new teams, okay? Brian Schottenheimer from Dallas. Interesting decision by Jerry Jones. A lot less interesting than trading Micah Parsons. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Schottenheimer, look at the first 6 games. There's actually some opportunity for the Dallas Cowboys to win some. That's right. I'm not going crazy. The first 6 games. So, of course, they've got Dallas tonight at Philly. Very tough. I think Dallas loses. So that's a tough one. But then look at what they have. They've got the New York Giants in Dallas. That is a winnable game. Then they have to go to Chicago to go against Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I would say that's a winnable game. Then they go to Green Bay. Note, they host Green Bay. Micah Parsons returns to Dallas. All the drama, all the pomp and circumstance. We'll see what happens. That's a tough game. But then they have the Jets and Carolina on the road. So the Giants, the Bears, the Jets, and the Panthers. Those are 4 teams that are very, very unlikely to make the playoffs. So Dallas could end up 4-2 in their first 6 games. If they can find a way to beat Green Bay or Philly, they could end up 5-1. Of course, they could end up 3-3. But I look at that schedule, and I think Brian Schottenheimer could get off to a 4-2 start. Then we got Mike Vrabel with the Patriots. Massive turnover in New England. Massive turnover. The coaching staff outside of Jeremy Springer, just a ton of different faces, offense and defense. So it's going to be interesting to watch how the Patriots kick off this season on Sunday against the Raiders because of all that change. There's a lot of new. The biggest story for the Patriots and Vrabel is, of course, Drake May's progression. Is he going to take that step forward? They absolutely need him to. He needs to take that step forward, and you need to feel by the end of 2025 like Drake May is truly the man. The Patriots, their schedule in the first month, I wouldn't say, it's super easy, but it does bring some opportunity. And what I mean by that is 3 out of the first 4 games are at home. They've got Vegas this weekend. Then they've got Pittsburgh week 3, Carolina week 4, before going on the road week 5 to Buffalo. So there's a chance that Vrabel can get off to a good start. Couple of super chats here. Want to jump into them. Charlie with a $10 super chat. Enjoying a Green State Lager by Zero Gravity. Zero Gravity. Good stuff. I love Zero Gravity beer. Also can't wait to laugh at the Cowboys tonight. Cheers, everyone. Cheers to you, Charlie. Thank you for the $10 super chat. It is very much appreciated. If you're wondering, I'm drinking Dad Vibes from Afterglow Brewing down here in Virginia. It's a fantastic Pilsner, 4.6%. And happy to be back on a Thursday. looking to build this podcast as we built it throughout last season. All right, Greg Fields, a $20 super chat. Football is back. Water for me, still at work. Well, thanks for joining us at work, Greg. Hopefully you get out soon enough so you can enjoy the football. But I can't thank you enough for that $20 super chat. And Chris Chapman going a little bit high class on us with wine with dinner. What are you eating? What goes with the wine? Appreciate you, Chris, and thank you for dropping that in. All right, let's get to the next head coach that's debuting with this team, and that's Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was the last hire during the offseason. Seemingly nobody wanted to be the Saints head coach aside from Kellen Moore. He lands the job. He already has made a very interesting decision with Spencer Rattler instead of Tyler Shuck. So Rattler will be starting for the Saints. And I feel like the Saints have zero expectations this year, and they really should have zero expectations. They start their season with 3 straight games against the NFC West. That is weird. So they've got Arizona, San Francisco, both of those games in New Orleans, and then they play at Seattle. So 3 straight games against the NFC West to kick off their season. Ben Johnson in Chicago, the Caleb Williams expectations. If Caleb Williams doesn't work out with Ben Johnson, it feels like Caleb Williams is unlikely to work out in the NFL. I think he will. I'm a fan of Caleb Williams on the field. I think he's a good quarterback. But the expectations, they're there. And Caleb Williams has to show up with Ben Johnson. Johnson, one of the best offensive minds in football. The offensive line investment by Ben Johnson and the Chicago front office should help Williams, but it's a steep climb. The NFC North is really tough. I think you could argue, and I would make the argument, that the NFC North is the best division in football. It is incredibly difficult, top to bottom, especially with Chicago likely improving with Johnson. So that's the Johnson outlook. And then Aaron Glenn in New York, the Jets. Man, did they get terrible news already this week. Elijah Vera Tucker out for the season. Torn tricep. Not what you want if you're the Jets. That is brutal news. He's a very, very good offensive lineman. He is out for the year. And you already question what the ceiling is for this offense with Justin Fields. From the pocket, Fields has never been consistent. Can certainly make some plays with his legs and with his arm, but he hasn't been that consistent type of guy. The defense has high expectations with Glenn. I do think the Jets defense is going to be at least good, but I don't think they have enough offensively, and that injury to Vera Tucker is a big one. Pete Carroll, interestingly enough, he will be coaching against Mike Vrabel this weekend, and Carroll somehow back in the NFL, early to mid-70s, and the urgency is there for the Raiders. They can't wait because of the age of their head coach. This is not a rebuild. This is a let's get right now. And so Ashton Genty added. I have concerns about that defense. I got questions about that secondary. I don't think they're going to be very, very good on that side of the football. But Aaron Schatz of DVOA fame actually has the Raiders winning about 8 games this year. So we'll see if Pete Carroll can make that come true. And finally, down in Jacksonville, you've got Liam Cohen, a quick rise. 1 year at Tampa as the offensive coordinator. You had that funky ending between Cohen and the Bucs, and he ends up in Jacksonville. There are still questions about Trevor Lawrence. Is Trevor Lawrence actually a true franchise quarterback? He got paid like one, but is he really that kind of guy? Liam Cohen's got to figure it out this year, because you don't want to continue to drag along. Of course, you've got Travis Hunter. He's going to play both sides of the ball. I don't think that's the best idea. Maybe a few snaps here and there at either of the cornerback or wide receiver positions, but he's not a very big guy. I've got questions about that. But the AFC South stinks, so maybe Liam Cohen can make some noise. All right, before we get to story number 3, do us a couple of favors. Don't forget to throw that thumb up, like the podcast as you watch, whether it's live or on demand. Don't forget to like this podcast. Give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to throw a comment in during the chat. You can also throw your comments in after the live stream is done. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I know it's the Everything Pats channel, but we're doing Crafts and Kickoffs every Thursday night at 7 p.m. sharp Eastern time. We open up the bar, we talk football, we have a drink. I also want to point out that tomorrow morning, I will be co-hosting the Locked On NFL show on the Locked On Podcast Network. So that's every Friday morning. You can join me co-hosting, talking about the biggest stories in the NFL. All right, let's get to story number 3. Story number 3. Now, this might be the biggest story trade-wise that we've had in, I don't know, since maybe Herschel Walker. This trade was nuts. Micah Parsons goes to Green Bay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and spend a bunch of time on Micah because the trade happened last week. But this is an indication. I want to focus on Green Bay because Green Bay's all in. There's no question. When you make this trade and you do what you do, you have to absolutely go all in and make a run, because you make that trade for Parsons. You drafted a wide receiver for the first time in forever in the first round with Matthew Golden, who I like. You then came back in the third round and drafted a wide receiver in Savion Williams. So you spent 2 picks on wide receiver between the first and the third rounds. You make the huge trade for Parsons, and for the second straight offseason, the Packers spent money in free agency. They signed Aaron Banks to a 4-year, $77 million contract. They signed Nate Hobbs to a 4-year, $48 million contract. So the Parsons trade, the money spent, the draft investment at wide receiver for Jordan Love, this is a season where you've got to make it. I mean, you've got to make the ultimate run. You've got to make the ultimate run. And my buddy Paul jumps in and says, it's not the tailgate. It is not the tailgate. Fact. Good job, Paul. Perceptive. People yelling and screaming and cursing behind me if this was the Tailgate Sports Pub. So you look at Green Bay all in. Here's my question about the Packers. I like Matt LaFleur as a head coach, but does he have a ceiling? Can he get them to the next step? Now, he got to the NFC Championship game not once but twice with the Packers. That was with Aaron Rodgers. But ever since, 2020, LaFleur and the Packers have not gotten past the divisional round. And so I think that question is a worthwhile one. And I think anybody who asks it is justified. Is Matt LaFleur the kind of coach that can get you to, an NFC Championship game, but not quite get to the Super Bowl? Now, I think he's a really good coach, and I would not hold it against anybody that made it to a championship game and not the Super Bowl. We're talking about one game. But LaFleur has pressure on him because, again, you haven't gotten past the divisional round in 5 years. Your front office has gone, quote unquote, full throttle, as Tom Werner from the Red Sox would say. You went all in with the Parsons deal and the picks and the money you spent in free agency for the second straight offseason. If you don't get the job done, inevitably the question is going to be, what does Green Bay have to do to get past that NFC Championship game hump? And I'm telling you, they're not going to fire the football team. So the only thing that they're going to have left is Matt LaFleur. And at some point, if he is not going to be able to get past that, then boom, he's going to be gone. So Matt LaFleur is interesting to me. All right, let's jump to some AFC division predictions. I want to go division by division, tell you what I believe is each winner, who's going to win each division by conference, and I start with the AFC. Let's start with the AFC South, and let me know who you think who wins the AFC South. Is it Tennessee? Is it Jacksonville? Is it Indianapolis? Or is it Houston? Who do you have winning the AFC South and why? Throw a comment in. I want to know your thoughts. I've got Houston by default. Let me just drink to the AFC South because they stink out loud. My God, this division is not very good. So you got Tennessee, rookie quarterback, Cam Ward, who I like. But is Tennessee ready to take that step? They're not. I don't think they are. Jacksonville, Liam Cohen, I've got questions. Rookie head coach. I always question a first-time head coach. I never know what to expect. I'm never going to sit there and say a team that's led by a rookie head coach is going to win much of anything. I need to see it before I believe it. So the head coach question for me is a legitimate one in Jacksonville until he proves himself. I cannot pick Indianapolis. I cannot pick a team that has Daniel Jones at quarterback. I can't do it. I won't do it. So I'm not going with Daniel Jones in the Indianapolis Colts. No, thank you. No, thank you. So I'm going Houston. Houston by default. I don't think Houston's a great team, but I'm going to go Houston. They've got a lot of questions on that offensive line. Let me see. $20 super chat. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Hey, Nick, did I see on Facebook you are co-hosting a new pod tomorrow? Good luck, and I want a Patriots win. Yeah, I am. So tomorrow morning, Friday mornings, every Friday morning, you can check out the Locked On NFL podcast. It's an NFL podcast, 30 minutes, myself and Tyler Rowland. He will be hosting. He'll be leading, and I will be in the co-chair. But every Friday morning, Locked On NFL podcast, we talk about everything that's happening in the NFL and getting ready for the weekend, what happened on Thursday night. So, yes, check it out. Tomorrow morning is the first one that I am on, but it's going to be every Friday morning, the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, let's look at the AFC North. Who do you have winning the AFC North? So Nick Patterson said Houston by default as well. Charlie says Houston is a lock. Paul jumped in and said Jacksonville. So we got one Jacksonville. So we'll see what happens in the South. Again, I got Houston. AFC North. This is tough. Maybe. Who do you have in the AFC North? Joe Burrow, who had an unbelievable season last year and was hosed by that defense. Joe Burrow and Cincy. How about Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Cleveland, no thanks. I'm going for Baltimore. And it might be boring. It might be, the easy way out. I couldn't care less. I'm going Baltimore for the third straight season. Cincy, I have concerns. They always get off to a slow start. It happened to them again last year. Now, Zach Taylor played some guys in the preseason. I think he's trying to change it up. We'll see if that makes a difference or not. But Cincy, not only the slow starts, but their defense. Again, they spent money on Chase. They spent money on Higgins, and both those guys are excellent. And Burrow wanted them back. They played a little bit more of a hardball approach with Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson's going to be there this year, but I just don't think they have enough defensively. They were terrible last year, and they didn't make enough moves on that side of the football. So I don't think it's going to be Cincy. I'm not big on Aaron Rodgers. I wasn't big on him last year. I don't think he has much left. I think he's going to fade as the season goes, so I don't have the Steelers, and Cleveland stinks. All right, AFC West. And let me see what everybody's saying. Greg thinks Cincy. Charlie says Cincy's the sexy pick. All right. Nick Patterson says Baltimore. Burley says Baltimore stacked like Sidney Sweeney. Hey now. Tyler Albertson on Facebook says, unfortunately, Baltimore. So let's look at the AFC West. I know my guy Jimmy, who's watching right now, if he's still watching, he's going to be screaming Chiefs from the mountaintops. I'm going to go with Kansas City just because of the respect factor. I don't know how you pick against Reed and Mahomes until they lose. I mean, it's like New England years ago. I can't pick against them in the division especially. So I'm going to go with Kansas City, but I do think Denver's dangerous. I do think Denver is dangerous. Their defense is really good. Sean Payton is a smart offensive mind. I'm not like as hot about Bo Nix as some people are, but I do think he's a good quarterback. So I know Denver is like getting a lot of love, and I understand why. I think Denver is a good football team, and I think they could possibly push Kansas City. But I still have Kansas City. I think this division has 3 playoff teams. Kansas City, obviously. I think Denver's in, and I think the Chargers get in. And I don't think the Raiders are going to be pushovers. I don't think they're going to just be, pushed over. So I think the AFC West, that's a pretty good division. That's a good division. I don't think it's as good as the NFC North, but it's a good division. Let's wrap up with the AFC East. This is easy. I don't think anybody's going to pick against the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are, thank you, Anonymous, likes the new background. The Buffalo Bills are by far the best team in the AFC East. I don't think there's a close second. All of us, I think, see that. By the way, Tyler jumps in and says, as a Raiders fan, not us. Nice. You look at the AFC East, you got Buffalo, and then I honestly feel like, you could just flip a coin with the next 3 teams. Now, I would say I put the Jets on the back end. I think the Jets end up being at the bottom of the AFC East. I thought that before the Elijah Vera Tucker injury. I feel that even more so now. So I'll put the Jets down at the bottom. I think the Patriots and the Dolphins are a coin flip. I think the Patriots could win, 8 or 9 games. And my official prediction on Locked On Patriots was 9-8. I think the Patriots can hover around 8 or 9 wins. I think the Dolphins are going to hover around 8 or 9 wins. That's a coin flip to me. But Buffalo, they're going to win 12 games. They're going to be one of the best teams in football. Josh Allen is terrific. Nobody's going to bet against Buffalo in that division. I don't see it. I do not see it. All right. We got one more top story to get to. And I want to give you my NFC predictions by division. Dad Vibes is the beer I'm drinking. There's the camera, Nick. Get it on the camera. There we go. Dad Vibes Afterglow Brewing is a fantastic Pilsner, a 4.6. If you're drinking with me, put one up. I appreciate every single one of you stopping by the bar. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. Throw your comments in. All right, let's do NFC. Let's do NFC now. Let's start with the NFC South. Who do you got in the NFC South and why? I'm going Tampa. I know some people like Atlanta. I need to see more of Michael Penix in the NFL. I need to see more of him. I think Atlanta's going to chuck the football. Bijan Robinson, obviously, is incredibly talented. But I need to see more of Michael Penix before I pick Atlanta over Tampa. I think Tampa's the best team in this division. The Saints are not good. They could be the worst team in football. Carolina, Bryce Young made that late charge in the last, month or so of the season. He has to continue that this year. We'll see if he can. But Tampa, look, they're loaded at receiver. Baker Mayfield is legit. And, that defense is good enough. So I'm going to go with Tampa in the NFC South. Let's look at the NFC North. NFC North is the best, as I said earlier, the best division in football. Now, Detroit, how about this? Nick Patterson going with Carolina. It's a shocker. So Detroit, different coordinators, but they're also getting back a lot of the defensive players who they lost last year. I mean, it was a MASH unit last season. It feels like Detroit is probably going to take a step back. I don't think it's going to be a big step back, but I do think it's going to be a step back, and that's going to open the door. Now, Minnesota, I also think takes a step back because I need to see J.J. McCarthy. I need to see McCarthy, and, at the NFL level, can he consistently make plays? Can he be that type of quarterback? I love that, if you're looking at coaches in the NFL, Kevin O'Connell, I think, is so good. And so I give Minnesota a decent chance to possibly slide into the playoffs back door, but I do think they take a step back. Chicago, Ben Johnson, everybody's raving about Ben Johnson, but he's a rookie head coach. I'll say it again. I will never put money on a rookie head coach to win a division. So I'm going to go with Green Bay. I feel like this is Green Bay's year to win this division. It's Jordan Love's season to truly take a step forward. I mentioned the moves they made earlier. I'm going with Green Bay. The NFC West, another fascinating division. And I talked about Matthew Stafford or bust. And I really think Matthew Stafford is the difference maker in this division. If Stafford can get through healthy, I think the Rams win the West. But it's a big if. And so I'm going to pick L.A., keep my fingers crossed for Matthew Stafford. San Francisco, to me, run CMC is always, an injury waiting to happen. They've had some wide receiver issues over the past, couple of years. Ayuk won't be back until week 6 or 7. Trent Williams has been great, but he's 38, 39 years old. I wouldn't write off San Francisco. I think they have a chance. They have a legitimate chance to win this division. But I think they finish just behind L.A. Arizona, I do think Arizona could be better than people think. But I still don't know about Kyler Murray's ceiling. I don't know if he's that guy. And the Seattle Seahawks, look, I know you got Sam Darnold, okay? I understand you got Sam Darnold, and he played great for 85% of the season last year for Minnesota, but I cannot get past the end of the year. Sam Darnold was awful at the end of the year. He was god-awful in the playoffs. And I can't get past that. I can't get past this vision of Sam Darnold just getting off to a decent start and then absolutely falling off a cliff and turning into the Sam Darnold that we've seen too many times before. NFC East, you got to go Philly. Most talented team coming off the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with the Eagles. It's the easy pick. Dallas, that Dallas defense. Dallas is Dallas. They can't get out of their own way. I do think the Commanders take a slight step back. They're going to get a tougher schedule. I think, there were a lot of things that kind of fell their way last season. I think the Commanders take a slight step back. I'd be more like around 9 wins, 10 wins for Washington this year. I think the Giants will be better, but I don't think they're there yet. And I'm going to be intrigued. By when Jackson Dart gets the call. Can Russell Wilson hold Jackson Dart back and keep him on the bench? So that's my NFC East pick. Super Bowl. Give me your Super Bowl before we bid adieu. Have another sip of my Dad Vibes beer. Who's in your Super Bowl? Give me 2 teams. Throw a comment in. I'll give you my Super Bowl. The Chiefs will not be in the Super Bowl this year. Get out. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I just feel like it's Baltimore's year. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I went Buffalo last year. I thought it was Buffalo. I'm not doing it again. I'm going with the Ravens, and I'm going to go with the Packers. I might regret the Packers. I might regret the Ravens. I might regret everything I've said during this podcast at some point during this year. I probably will. But I am going Ravens versus Packers in the Super Bowl. Kyle Kirk jumps in, $10 super chat. Commanders fall to 8 wins. Could see it. Their roster is paper thin and old. Yes, oldest team in football. I think it's the first time since like 2012 there's been a team with an average age of over 28. Bengals, Eagles, Super Bowl. Since he is a sexy pick, I'm going Ravens, Packers. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Every Thursday night, we open up the bar for you before Thursday Night Football. We have a drink. We talk about the biggest storylines in the NFL of that week. Join us. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Let's build this podcast up again for this second year. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you to everybody who sent super chats tonight. I certainly appreciate it. Enjoy the football. Football is back. Week 1 tonight. Cowboys, Eagles. Talk to you soon. And as I always say, let me get this situated. Cheers, my friends.